Hey Rob, nice to meet you, brother.
Good
How's it
morning.
going?
Good to meet you too, Alex. I've been watching you on Facebook, and you seem like you've got a lot of energy
Oh,
and
thanks a lot. Yeah, that's
youthful
right.
energy. Youthful energy. But I don't want to make any assumptions. May I ask
Yep,
approximately how old are you?
32 years old.
Okay. Not as young as I thought, but okay.
Okay, great, man. So, okay, it's a really cool opportunity to talk with you because you're from that era I'm into. Like heavy metal, hard rock, and also you're from Seattle. That's like grunge stuff like Chris Cornell and Lane Staley from Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, and it's super interesting for me. So, okay,
Yeah.
the first question is super simple. When you begin to sing and how was that? Your
Me.
inspiration, bands you were listening to. Tell me about this.
Yeah, sure. I think it's really relevant for you and me based on what you just said. So I graduated from high school in '87. All right,
Mm-hmm.
so I was introduced to rock and those types of singers from about maybe 1980 on.
Mm-hmm.
Cutting to the chase, my inspiration, well, first and foremost, was probably early Jeff Tate from Queensryche.
Oh, great. Like The Warning and Operation Mindcrime.
Precisely. In fact, I have always said, and I will continue to say this, I believe that the vocal performance on Queensryche, The Warning, their first full-length album, is definitely in the top 10 greatest rock metal recording performances of all time.
Agreed.
And he went on to do other albums, as you know, and sounds fantastic on that stuff, but never quite got sort of the color, the vowel colors, and the
Mm-hmm.
vibrato, and sort of
Oh,
the
yeah.
masculine heroism that comes from
Yeah.
The Warning. So anybody that's listening to this, if you want amazing kind of prog metal vocals, Jeff Tate's moment was in The Warning. Now, other than that, Steve Perry from Journey,
Yeah.
James McCree from Dream
Oh,
Theater.
yeah. One of the best
Yeah,
singers
I think
ever.
he's great. He's fantastic. Lots of Bruce Dickinson, um, in particular the Peace of Mind album, which is
Yeah.
sort of in
Yeah.
the day.
Mm-hmm.
Again, kind of like The Warning, Bruce Dickinson, anything he touches is fantastic, but there's something about the performance on Peace of Mind
Mm-hmm.
that I recommend people run out and find. Rob Halford from Judas
Oh
Priest.
man, that's the iconic person ever. Like from hard rock to heavy metal forming this style and the full voice concept which is, super smooth. Like, great bridging, great TA muscle activity and it's like,
Yeah,
it's like the guy when you're listening to, oh, that's it. That's the metal rock voice. High pitched, whatever. Low, high, middle. It's like awesome. Great. Again, that's cool. Yeah.
yeah, fantastic. Viewers, go listen to Rob Halford. And again,
Yeah.
some of the early stuff, Sad Winds of Destiny,
Sin after
Stay in
sin.
Class, Stay in
Yeah.
Class.
Killing
Uh,
machine.
what's that?
Killing machine.
Okay. I mean, it's all great. And when I think of Rob Halford, he's a little bit earlier than say Jeff Tate and some of those
Yeah.
guys. So it's sort of like all of that amazing singing without the benefit of a four pillars of singing and a hook
Mm-hmm.
and a chorus, without the benefit of YouTube to look
Yeah.
up and get ideas. Without these guys just sort of learn how to do it
Exactly. And
on
you
the stage, in the bathroom, just one way or another, zigzag their way there,
yeah.
and wow,
Man, you know
yeah.
what? That's great thing that you are saying about this because now we've got like tons of info lessons and we know how to shape the vowel. We know what the frequencies are, how to place the tongue, how to compress, cry, call mechanism. And when I'm thinking about Robert Plant, Jan Gillen, those guys from 70s,
Yeah.
without any infos. There was just like, super light rock and roll mood. Like I call this the light note, like nah, and the idea about like, more compressed. From what, space it goes?
Yeah,
Where's the inspiration? It's like,
this question comes up often. It's worthy of talking about. Students will come to me, they come to you too, and you get this question. Okay, I get it. Training, books, courses, all that stuff. I believe in it, but what about Rob Halford? What about Robert Plant? These guys, they didn't have courses and books, so they must have been just sort of born out of the cradle. And my answer to this is, I don't think so. I mean, some people are born with a little bit more intuition for singing than others.
Yeah, for sure.
That. But what you're born with and what you are not born with, that factor, that margin is much smaller than what the general public believes.
Yeah.
Okay. But I do want to account for it. Let's recognize that. We set that aside. But that aside, I really think the answer is, if you're someone like Rob Halford or Ian Gillan or Robert Plant, I think what happens is you start singing in garage bands when you're a kid, and then the garage band turns into a local band, and then the local band turns into a regional band. Regional band turns into a big hit, a big famous band, and essentially you're an individual that has been belting and shouting and zigzagging your way, trying to find a way to make it work. You hit on some ideas and you stick with it, and then the next day you hit on something that sort of worked. You don't really even know what it is, but you stick with it, and along the way you sort of figure out that you may not even know what to call it, but you sort of figure out that when you go into cry mode and you pull certain musculature, certain aesthetics, that it seems to work and it seems to sound cool.
Exactly. More muscle fibers,
I think if you've just been rehearsing in a band 5 nights a week, every night since you were 12 years old, it's going to come around.
Exactly.
It's one way of getting there. It's one way of getting there. It's not efficient. You might bring with you some inefficiencies, some fatiguing habits and all of that. Your voice might even burn out one day. That can happen too. But it is one kind of zigzagging your way, hitting the pinata, so to speak, is one way of getting there. And I think that's what's happening with those guys. But not Jeff Tate and not James Labrie. World, they've got coaches.
Yeah, for sure, man. And also I've been thinking about classical training because, for contemporary music, for rock music, when we are dealing with more raised larynx, more muscle fibers compression, more TA muscle activity, and like classical training is more about, not even dampening, but lowered larynx, the sound position. And maybe some of them were trained classically, and they used to know what the open throat is, because that's the great thing when you're opening the throat. But the larynx position, maybe they were thinking about, okay, it's without any presence. So when I need to belt, it's like super hooty sound, or like a poggio, it's cool with a poggio, but it's like light tone. It's not this, precise belt quality. And maybe they were starting to figure how to, okay, let's raise slightly the larynx or damp the soft palate to create this more beltier, just playing with it or something like that.
Well, Alex, if they did take lessons back in the day, for the sake of the conversation, let's safely agree that there probably weren't a whole lot of amazing contemporary coaches. Okay, they go to Alex, go to Robert. All right. So what you're going to dial into is a classical coach. Okay. Now you're gonna learn some stuff there. I think it can be helpful and really and healthy, especially for a beginner, to get some motor skills going.
Yeah, the resonance thing, place.
The thing is when you're, I've sang classical, by the way, and I've been in that environment, and it is stand by the piano, prim and proper, and sing in sort of a room like my room that has a lot of ambience. And the requirement to be loud it's not even considered.
Without amplification. So the purpose is to be loud from the beginning.
Beautiful vowel, which is wonderful and beautiful, but the requirement to be loud and to be amplified is not there. So now you take the same guys that we were talking about, and you put them in band practice at level, and all of a sudden you got the guy on the right turning up his guitar amp. You got the drummer hitting the skins and the cymbals super hard. It's really loud. It's really noisy. You can't hear yourself in the rehearsal room. And I think that the requirement to kind of being forced to get more energy and more physicality behind it. Band rehearsal room and performances. So again, kind of zigzags and leads somebody who has a disposition for singing well anyways, down the path to sort of figure out how to belt properly.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yeah.
So it teaches them how to get that powerful vocalis or TA engagement, the close quotient and the glottal attacks and all the beat that you and I are referring to is forced out of you if you're shouting initially
and
a band.
Yeah, and again about a glottal attack, because I don't know why in a classical it used to be like not proper attack staccato, because that's okay if we are practicing this, that's okay, like to attack, but back in the days I think it was like, no, you can't sing like this, you need to have this smooth fade attack, right?
It's a really good point. You're referring to glottal attacks, or what is known as a chaotic crash of the vocal folds, okay, when entering or onsetting into a vowel.
Exactly.
All right?
Yep.
This is a glottal attack. A, okay?
Staccato feel.
Yes. Now this term chaotic, the chaotic crash, for the viewers, chaotic sounds like it might be scary or unhealthy. It doesn't mean that it's scary or unhealthy. A chaotic crash on the vocal folds into vowels can be done properly.
Exactly.
Namely, if you engage vocal cry mode and thin out the vocal folds before you engage in the glottal.
Yeah. So this onset should be before the airflow attacks. Yeah.
Right. You want to configure the mechanism first, namely cry mode, and then engage your onset. So anyways, back to the classical world. I think for many years the term glottal attack was sort of a scary thing, because when they think about, to them, a lot of them, not everybody, but many, a glottal attack means something unhealthy. It means a chaotic crash of the vocal folds done in an unhealthy way, and that can happen too.
Yeah, for sure. Without the placement. If you don't have placement and you are using glottal attack, you're down, like you're squeezed. Bah!
You're right. That's right, Alex. If you don't first set the physiology into a thinned position and set your acoustic placement properly, then a glottal attack will be unhealthy, inefficient. But if you first place the mechanism and you thin out the vocal folds, place the mechanism with vocal cry mode, and you also get the resonance and the acoustics set properly, all happen in about 1/10 of a second, then you execute your onset, then it's going to work for you. And that's where a coach like yourself or myself, living in the information age, where there's lots of things to learn and new ideas and new successful ways of teaching voices, would probably come into play, because you're not just going to slam into or shout into a vowel. You have to configure the system first, and then onset. So it's important for viewers to understand that. Glottal attacks don't have to be dangerous. In fact, a good, healthy glottal attack is one of the healthiest things you can do for your voice.
Yeah, for sure, because you are not like thinking about, like, the most dangerous thing is when student overthinking the process of airflow going through the folds like super long, rather than think about the placement first. So it's going like like a second, bam, you are in the palate first, rather than you are squeezed and trying to like push from the squeeze through the squeeze, sorry, like this. So can be like
to
this.
The squeeze, through the squeeze, with the squeeze.
Yeah.
Even if you get it, just stop squeezing.
Yeah. Yeah. Start plays, not to squeeze. Start plays.
Well, this is interesting, because the placement, by the way, when you're referring to placement, I know you're referring to acoustics or setting the resonance, okay? And that placement in the resonance or the vowel, that placement gets typically put in a really lovely position, a proper position to facilitate the glottal attack or anything else that's coming. When you first practice visualizing that placement, you have to hear it and feel it. You gotta hear it. You gotta feel it in your head, and that takes practice. That's why we do scales and we have big rooms and we train. We go to a good voice coach. It's in addition to working out the mechanics of the physiology, mindset, and techniques. You got to learn to hear those vowels and hear the resonance through the training and the scales. If you, in a tenth of a second, if you hear where the vowel needs to be placed on a G sharp because you've been practicing it forever, then when you execute the mechanism, the articulators, the tongue, the
lips, the palate,
the upper vocal tract, the palate will all shape in the way.
It's like a tuning. You are tuning each note, each pitch.
It's not like you're tuning. You are tuning.
Yeah.
And you're not only tuning. When we say tuning, you're not only tuning frequency,
but shape.
That's the obvious one that people understand. You're tuning the resonance or the format. For an on a G sharp.
For specific
now that resonance
pitch
has to be tuned for every vowel and every frequency.
Yeah, that's right. And also you can boost different frequencies. Like for harmonics, for example, like second or fourth, for example, for the belting, it's different from, like more cry mechanism. We are tuning and boosting different frequencies. So that's also a great point.
Yes. When you get into this sort of the kinesthetics and the motor skills to be singing, like we're trying to help our students get to, you enter into a world where you stop trying to get louder.
Yeah.
And you start learning how to amplify frequency. So amplifying the vowel or amplifying the resonance or amplifying the placement is very different than get louder.
Exactly. It's like, you can take a glass and you can hit it like ding, put, I don't know, like piece of paper. There is no resonance, like now think about the tongue. If when you're raising the tongue, like 40% of the sound disappears, like you can shout, you can belt, there is nothing. You just close the space and the tongue is a huge muscle. If you will squeeze it, you're done. So amplifying is different from just, like this, just shout to the sound.
Try as you may. Trying to hit notes and shout and push on notes. Get back to me on how that works out for you. Anybody that tries it, I've tried it. Alex, we both tried it. It doesn't work.
For sure, man. That's right. To be honest, the same. I think if we have question and we had question, everybody, if you are into rock and metal singing, the first step was I just need to, like hit the wall like this. That it's not gonna work. Okay, let's try another way, longer but calibrated, and here we go. You can produce these speeches like for 5, 6, and like 11 hours. Like remember, I had like 11 classes and 10 of them straight. That was like a journey, but.
I will share with you a story that I share with my students to make a point that I want to make in regards to this discussion about trying to get louder, hitting notes to get louder, or with balance and finesse, we're going to amplify frequencies. Just play with me here. Imagine that we're standing in a swimming pool. Okay? Standing in a swimming pool. Water's coming up to my navel right about here. Okay? And we're going to play a game. And the game is, we're going to take my hand, and I'm going to make my hand go into the water. Water's right here. I'm going to go into the water at the highest rate, at the highest velocity, as fast as I can make it go, just before the physics of inertia, mass, water begin to play and begin to slap my arm. Before my arm slaps. So I'm going to go as fast as I can before my arm slaps. Okay? So what I'm doing is I'm playing with, the game is to balance the physics behind inertia, mass, water, and all of that. Now, if we take that as a metaphor and we apply it to singing, when we get into the business of the singing or thinking about amplifying formants or amplifying resonance and vowels or placements, as you say, we're in the business of balancing the inertia and the energy that goes behind it. Not too much,
exactly.
not too little. You need to balance it. And if you perfectly balance the amplification or the physics, if you play with the physics, not against the physics, then the voice will go,
yeah,
and it will ring.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if you choose to fight against the physics,
it's never ending war.
You will. If you choose to fight against the physics of sound in the human upper vocal tract, try as you may, you will not succeed. I guarantee you. So it's better to work with the physics.
Yeah.
Sound. And that's just a sort of a geeky way of looking at it, but students, it's good for them if they can grasp that is, okay, as a singer, I'm trying to amplify resonance. I'm trying to amplify formants. That means I'm sort of playing with physics, and I need to balance all of the elements, the energy and the placement and the pitch, everything to make it work. If I'm not being careful about those elements in the physics formula for amplifying an ah on a G sharp, then what happens is the body resists. It chokes. It pushes back. It says no. This won't work.
Yeah.
The body's pushing and choking on high notes. In some sense, it's sort of telling you, no, get your physics balanced, and I'll give it to you.
Yeah, for sure. But the balance is really, kind of weird thing for, like different students, they are really different. Someone is going and, when he's starting to sing, he is more like over-compressing. So that's the habit for him. Here's some So we need to kind of release this first and then build it. Another student is going like uncompressed completely. So it's always, like really balanced, because like completely balanced voice, that's the maximum compromise TA and CT muscle. That's the compromise for each pitch. So when he's over squeezed, there is no compression at all. So every single student, it's like another case. It's not like, there are a lot of coaches, like, for example, they are buying someone's method, and for every single student is the same. It's like, it's like a nightmare. So the first student came like, okay, so let's do another again. So it's not gonna work this way, because individual, like, situation, it's another for any person. And you need to balance every single voice and shape it differently.
Of course, if you have a method or a training program that gives you, as a teacher, gives you as a student too, gives you the tools, gives you the techniques to be able to diagnose and go in and fix individual problems.
Yeah.
Is it's a okay or good exercise, but it's not what everybody needs. As a matter of fact, it's what most people don't need.
Exactly. And it could be bad if somebody have over squeeze, give him more even more glottal attacks, even more TA muscle activity. It will choke forever. Like, that's the muscle memory.
Well, on the other hand, there's another really great coach, somebody I won't mention, but I respect, and very talented, very capable. We have a lot in common. But as I understand it, there's a lot of ah vowels straight up the middle. Like just get on an ah vowel and just give it hell. Just go straight to the middle.
I know.
You know what? That will work for some people.
Exactly.
Some people will sort of figure that out. Some people it work, but there's a lot of people
who are over opening the vowel rather than slightly closer where it passing the passaggio. Yeah,
they're burning out. Okay, it's not that approach. I think the training is super effective and appropriate. I talk about it in my program, but in my opinion, it's not for most beginners. All right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like most people that come in, you've got to go through a rehabilitation process, and with good ears, okay, here's the situation. Just like you said, Alex, it's too windy. Let's do some compression workouts, like a quack and release onset, and give you some compression. Oh, it's too squeezy. Let's go, and you don't have respiration. Well, let's go the other way. Let's work on wind and release and build your Bernoulli physics and get your diaphragm moving. All of that.
Yeah. And another thing, this basic foundation like breathing, like support, compression, and placement. So there are a lot of videos, and also I'm doing like 2 or 3 educational videos a week, but I'm not saying in every single video about support, because I think the student or singer, it should be there right from the beginning. Support and breathing and placement, it's like a foundation. I'm not saying about this. And then I'm saying about, different shaping of the vocal tract, about the tongue, about some mechanism, about passing the 4th passaggio, right to the whistle voice. And for example, singer like opening YouTube, okay, I need to connect myself right to the whistle voice. Okay, here's the thing. You need to make the fry and thin, and right going. But he don't understand that the basic foundation, you need to breathe first, then support, then compress, and then place. And he trying just to, okay, that's the fry thin. And here's like, maybe without any breathing, without any support. And that's the big problem. And it's like programming, because the muscle memory is a great thing, and at the same time that's the awful thing. If you're doing systematically bad thing, man, that's horrible thing.
There's sort of the challenge with the term support that's being used so often is a couple things. One, support is a broad term.
Yep.
Support could be many different things, and truly is in singing. I think most of the time people are sort of referring to respiratory support, respiration support. Yeah. It's important, and I'll get back to that. Mm-hmm. But there's also mechanism support, TA engagement and close core, and these things that have to be addressed, and a good voice coach will be able to address those things. So it's important that when we're talking about support, there's different kinds of support. There's respiratory support and mechanism support, acoustic support. Okay.
Yep.
In regards to respiration, you made a point.
Yeah, breath support. Yeah, like.
In regards to breath support, I think that a student kind of needs to come to the table with that. There are videos in my course, in my program about passaggio. There's a video, I think you have it, where we're doing the maestro style workouts that build the strength.
And sorry for interruption. And I just want not to forget you to tell about Maestro Kyle, because he was your vocal coach, and Chris Cornell, and also Lane Staley. Yeah. So just a couple of words about this, because it's super interesting for me.
Sure, I'll be happy to do that. Awesome. And Jeff Tate from Queensryche,
awesome.
And Wilson from Hart. I'll be happy to address that. But in regards to respiratory support, there are respiratory support lessons in the program that I'm offering for those of singing, including the famous Maestro Kyle workouts that you're referring to. They're a lot of fun. However, it might surprise you to learn that I rarely address respiratory support in here. Because most students, the respiratory support sort of comes around. It comes around as a byproduct or as a symptom of getting the just getting on a scale and starting to work out and getting the vocal folds together and trying to amplify vowels. So I sort of reverse engineer the support with most students. If we get them thinking about vowels, get them thinking about building the mechanism, get them just training every day on the workouts, the support tends to sort of come around.
But not for everybody, unfortunately. Right. Yeah. And the bad things about support, I saw like a lot of times, the most bad things are the first one, when you're trying to suck inward, like, you know, and that's the student who were like trained, you know, like in conservatory or musical school. And first thing, I'm just asking, okay, I need to check your breathing and support first. Okay, just breathe. And it's like, you know, okay, I'm breathing. And how do you support? I'm supporting, no, like I need to support like this. Oh man, it's okay. Let's start from the beginning in this case. So yeah.
Okay. Well, Maestro Kyle, Maestro David Kyle. There's a little bit of information in the back of our book here. Is a famous voice coach who was in Seattle, Washington for about 30 years. He also worked with the Metropolitan Opera in New York and early on in his career. He moved to Seattle, Washington, and is sort of the guy that a lot of the famous Seattle singers went to. I also spent 12 years with him.
Cool.
Lane Staley from Alice in Chains, Chris Cornell, Jeff Tate from Queensryche, Ann Wilson from Heart.
And somebody from Dawkins, I guess I read about this.
Jeff Pilson from Dawkins. I mean, you know, the list goes on. And I always like to say a whole bunch of really amazing singers that you never heard of before.
Got it.
Just singers. So, for example, this is fun for you guys. Go check out a band called Rail, R-A-I-L, Rail. They were a sort of a big hit in Seattle, and they still play in Seattle sometimes. Their singer, Terry Young, is a hardcore Maestro Kyle student and a friend of mine. And you can hear that Maestro Kyle element, which is really beautiful vowels and resonance. Lots of bridging through the passaggio and the head voice and stuff. In the 4 Pillars of Singing, in my program, about 13 of the 32 workouts that we offer to train on are original Maestro Kyle workouts, by the way. So that's sort of
cool. Fun. Yeah, awesome. Great. And let's talk about semi-occluded phonation, because for me it's like complete balance tool for diagnose the problem, to, you know, like reset your voice. Even for me, because I'm teaching, like, you know, grit, rasp, and full chord engagement, retinoid engagement, belting, and I'm doing like even 10 or 11 lessons a day. And every single morning, I need to, you know, like recalibrate myself and restore to the, like, you know, the first point, to balance, to pass like passaggio, like first, like E, F, F sharp, then the second one, the third one, without pushing too much, without, you know, pulling down too much. Like, so the semi-occluded phonation is like perfect. So what you can say about this?
Well, a semi-occluded phonation is sort of a fancy voice foundation symposium talk or voice coach talk for vocal workouts. It's a family of vocal workouts that are involved in primarily balancing
the pressure.
Two energy forces.
Yeah.
The two energy forces that a good semi-occluded phonation balances, which, by the way, translates to partially closed phonation.
Yep.
Is the vocal fold compression, the vocal fold movement, and the respiratory force that strikes in the subglottal position.
And
so respiration,
negative.
Okay, yeah, and supraglottal as well. So it's balancing vocal fold compression and respiratory forces. And when those two elements, the respiration and the vocal folds, achieve a certain optimization, a certain balance, then all that placement and that vocal cry mode and stuff that you and I were talking about earlier begins to, it helps to amplify. So this is why semi-occluded phonations are something that voice coaches have done for 400 years.
Exactly.
And you know, any voice coach that sort of claims that they're the person that invented or came up with the semi-occluded phonation, if you hear anything like that, it's bullshit. Okay. I've heard that, but it's ridiculous.
For sure.
So, but semi-occluded phonations, the lip trill, for example. A lot of you are familiar with that. The lip trill is probably the most popular. You can also do tongue trills and
nasal consonants.
Yes, you can do work with a straw,
Man,
playing a straw.
One of the best things ever on the planet.
It's good.
The best.
Yeah, the straw really does a wonderful job of balancing compression with respiration and yanking on the folds. It sort of stretches you out.
So CT muscle, tilting the thyroid, this activity, exactly.
There you go. Well done, Alex. And in my program, we also buzz on nasals. We call it resonant tracking. So buzzing on nasals is another way of doing a semi-occluded phonation. They're all healthy. They're all great. And well, that's what it is. Was that your question?
Okay. And about the nasal consonants is super important because, you know, untrained singer have always this like gap between the like, you know, head voice and chest voice, and it's always like, you know, like, because for some reason understanding of this piece of resonation spot, like, for example, you have all through the mouth, like more chest or then you have and without like right in between. It will always be like zombie or Noah. So it's super interesting thing because like I know like tons of singers who are singing for 10 years or even 15 years, and they are coming and trying to figure out how to sing high notes. And the first question is it difficult to sing the high note or high mid note? What do you mean? And I say, okay, you are like, you have, I don't like term like tenor or baritone. I more refer this to vocal folds individual, like, you know, more thicker or thinner, or like repertoire you are singing. That's tenor or baritone, whatever, because you are stuck with, okay, I'm tenor, I can sing higher than high C, and it's like blocking your mental vision, so it's bad. And I'm thinking, okay, it's kind of, you have this tenor vocal folds, and is it difficult to sing, for example, E flat 5 or B flat 4? And he's, yeah, it's kind of more difficult to sing B flat 4. Okay, so that's high mid note pitch rather than high. Okay, so that's the point. This mid voice area, the pharyngeal, the pharynx, like glottal pharynx, nasal pharynx, and oropharynx, because you have the space, the head space. For some reason, somebody can't open this, and you have the speaking voice, but right in the middle, it's like, you know, compromise the CT and TA, and the balancing the shaping of the vowel also. Because your tendency is to open and open and open the vowel, like or yeah. But if you're like balancing rather than like, you know, slightly covered, but not over closed because you will squeeze. So yeah, this nasal consonants tracking is super cool, man.
The most difficult notes to train and sing are not the super high screamy note.
Yep.
That's sort of what people think, and like young guys will think that too. I used to think that when I was a kid. Yeah, the super high screamy notes, what's all about. No. Actually, the most difficult notes to sing and command and control, not just do a siren, but to actually like articulate through it and do some lyrics through it,
and tag them.
Is F sharp, G. It's
first
right
passaggio.
here.
First passaggio.
Yeah, it's right here.
Yeah.
The closer you are to the passaggio, the more challenged. The red zone is right here. It's not the super high screamy note. In fact, if you get this going, you'll find that the super high screamy note will be there for you as an afterthought. That's sort of a benefit.
Yeah.
So spend your I say this to especially young males. Don't spend your time chasing the super high screamy note and whistle stuff. That's not learning how to do that isn't going to then make everything else below it where you're going to be doing 99% of all your singing for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Work and develop. Work on developing right here through the bridge and the low head tones.
Yeah.
And other stuff will open up. Mm-hmm. And you're right. So we work with, me and my coaches work with what we call vowel anchoring or resonance anchoring. Mm-hmm. On learning how to anchor the resonance in the sort of the mid position of the oral cavity. It's a mixed oral cavity pharyngeal resonance position.
Yeah.
Yes, it's tricky to get, but it's there's techniques that we work on that help singers get that going so that the notes you really want, I mean the notes that I want to be consistently there and sounding great, more than anything, more than the high E5.
Exactly.
Whatever. I want the E, the F sharp, the G sharp, the A. I want all the notes in the fourth octave.
Yeah.
Those are money notes. Those are the notes where singing happens.
Yeah, the radio notes. Yeah. That's for sure. And also about the compression. So with your students, you are trying first to use this. In my method, I call this the light mode. This lighter type of compression, like Steve Perry and things like that, without too much engagement of TA muscle. So that's the first point you are working with your students, or are there guys who can right from the beginning start to vocalize with TA engagement and like making slides, sirens with this more heavier compression?
There are some people that can walk into the studio on their first lesson, not know a damn thing what they're doing, and have that thicker medium mass phonation.
Yeah,
something we might want. I've found through the years, I've noticed there's a pattern there. The individual that comes in and can do that immediately is always the individual that, even if they never had a voice lesson, it's always the individual that's been jamming with a band 3 to 4 nights a week and gigging 3 or 4 nights a month. It's that individual, like we said before, who's been sort of zigzagging and getting physically stronger but inefficient.
Yeah.
That can kind of come in and kind of pull it off. But as coaches, we need to help them get more efficient and a little bit more healthy. Working light versus working medium mass, as you were saying earlier, it depends on the individual and what their needs are. I tend to lean more towards working towards a medium, a heavier mass initially. If I can get away with it, I want to get to the resistance training. So I want to get to the bench press as soon as I can, the student, and so that I can get that TA engagement and get some really exciting results as quick as possible. But if somebody can't do that and they're poking and they're choking, I'll start with something a little bit lighter.
Yeah, and because
I don't think that Steve Perry is as light as he sounds. The sound color sounds sort of light. It does, and sort of compared to say a Bruce Dickinson. But I think that when you really get into Steve Perry and you get into working out the puzzles of making those sounds and finding those resonances, at least in my voice, it feels a lot heavier than the sound color.
Yeah, and also I've been analyzing Steve Perry, listening to Raised on the Radio and Frontiers Journey stuff. There are some lighter stuff, but also I have in my method I have like in few words, to make long story short, like soft mode, which is more like, uncompressed, like falsetto but connected. Light, lighter compression. Medium, which is cry but not belty, like Then two belt modes, which is heavy, all through the mouth with opening the vowel, like opening the vowel all through the mouth, and hard mode, which is belting but with more pharyngeal quality and super. I call this. I don't like term twang. I refer this more to quack, because like pressing the tongue down and compressing the epiglottis. So that's another belt mode for like higher pitches, when you can go like you are belting, calling, but quacking more and more through the nasal. So in listening to Steve Perry, there are also the medium mode. So medium mode compression, not belt, not call, but cry, but heavier compression. So it's not pure light mode. And super similar tone, Steve O'Jerry. Super similar tone to Steve Perry.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah.
So it's like one of my favorite singers also.
Right here in Seattle, the new version of the updated version of Queensryche without Jeff Tate, their new singer, Todd.
La Roque or La Roche or something like this, I guess.
Todd La something, yeah. Anyways, great singer, sounds good. Has a lot of the same colors when he did the old school Queensryche. Had a lot of the same colors, I think. But when I was listening to it, and then they would do Queensryche songs that weren't Jeff Tate songs, and I would hear a different voice coming through. Equally cool and fun to listen to, but a different voice. I think that Todd was sort of working on the tongue and the articulate, kind of moving and shifting resonance around a little bit with the old stuff to try to get those colors.
To mimic.
Yeah, purposely. That I can't confirm it. That's just my educated guess. And I've been able to do it. Like if I just play with the vowels a little bit and shift the resonance around a little bit, I can get a Steve Perry sound, or a slight more Bruce Dickinson sort of sound color. I guess my point is with enough practice and enough experience, you can play with the formants and the mechanism, all the elements to get the colors that you're shooting for.
Okay, Rob. Another thing, it's super interesting for me why different singers from the 80s and early 90s, some of them still have upper range, but some of them doesn't have this. And there are some guys who sound even better now than before. So one of them, like Rob Halford, even today, perfect. Bruce Dickinson also. It's awesome. Even now,
he's better than ever. He's better than ever.
Exactly. But there are, I don't know if it correctly to speak the names, but now it feels like after the second passaggio, there is nothing. And why this happens, I don't know. And there are a lot of guys like these.
Well, I think there are many reasons why that can happen. Those reasons sort of fall under a headline.
Sorry for interruption. And another guy, Sammy Hagar from Van Halen. 71 now sounds great, even after the second passaggio, connected with the rest. So it feels, I hear the healthy voice, the grid, the rasp, the belt, but healthy. I can hear and like him. So continue, please. Sorry for interruption.
Well, I was going to say that many different things can be contributing to a voice, the execution not being the same as it used to be. I think at the top of all of those things is a headline that reads health habits, okay? And that includes your training, your warming up, your staying in shape. If I get off my voice, and I've done it before, unfortunately, for too long, here we go. I'm having some, I'm getting sort of squirrely. But if I'm on my voice a lot and training a lot, then it's all rubbed out. This is the mechanism. Singing and training is an athletic endeavor.
Yep.
These muscles need to constantly be worked, stretched out, elongated, massaged. You gotta reinforce those formant tunings in your ear and the neurolinguistics for getting good vowels and this and that.
And warming up and cooling down.
I think that would be the problem.
And life habits, I think, like the cigarettes, the alcohol, the drugs, and stuff like that. Also.
Absolutely. Sure.
And also, the key point for me is how I'm warming up my voice. I have the productive day, and also the cooling down, because a lot of singers, they just doesn't know about this, about cooling down. So we are taking our voice, stretch it, work, and then we need to place it back. Not after, especially after the gig, after the, 3 or 4 or 5 hours tracking vocals in the studio. So cooling down is also the key point, I guess.
There's a workout, one of those 13 Maestro-Cal workouts in the TVS program. It's called the 9-note run. It's 9 notes. It's a run, and it's sort of the official cool down workout. It's the cool down that Maestro-Cal used to do, that all those famous singers used to do. It's nice. It's a good cool down. Yeah.
Oh, awesome, cool. So yeah, about the tension and release, and about the support and airflow. So it's always for me like a runner. So from the one hand, you have tension, because without positive tension, you won't have sound at all. From the other hand, you have release. And for some reason, when some singer are trying to support, okay, he's singing, and when he's trying to inhale, he's staying in this, muscle activity like when he's supporting, and he's just locking. He can't inhale in 1, 2, 3rd, and 4th phrase, and it's done. So it's always super important to, like a basketball or like a ping pong or like a runner. Tension, then release. Tension, release, and when you have this you can run miles, in singing the same story. So how you are dealing with it with your students? This tendency.
No, that's a good question. It's a good observation. The act of singing is an act of maybe a full body support or a full body anchoring experience. That is the respiration, especially going into cry mode. Right before I go into cry mode, I can feel the mechanism sort of locking.
Yeah.
Sort of setting up. Mm-hmm. And it's important to be really aware of that and what you're referring to. And I just think it's a great observation, Alex. What do I have to say about it? It's real. And that there's different elements, respiration, mechanism, maybe even just visualizing the note, that sort of stuff, that are all part of that I'm going to start singing for the next 5 seconds, so I need to get the body ready, go, hold that position, sing through that position, then release, relax, get ready, hold, sing through that position, relax, get ready. I think that's a really good idea to teach in that way. That's a good visual. Sometimes I work with my students and I ask them to sort of visualize sort of an English longbowman. Okay. So I'm cocked, I'm ready, have all the energy ready to go here, then I release my vowel.
Yeah.
I get ready for the next phrase, I roll up, Okay, here I'm about ready to sing, and you start releasing vowels and consonants. Boom. I
Mm-hmm.
go. The arrow flies, arrow hits the ground. I gotta breathe. Next phrase. Grab my next arrow.
Yeah.
Boom. Ready. It's all happening in a tenth of a second. Now I'm singing. I'm singing. I'm singing. So
Yeah.
it's a fun metaphor for I think what you're describing.
And also, that's a great metaphor for stretching the vocal folds. When you're
Yeah.
stretched, it's super
Yeah.
important also for feeling this, movement, like where you when you're tilting the larynx, and also the phrasing. Because once I've just asked my student, like, why you are so trying to be like, constantly like squeezed, and the answer was, it feels kind of, I felt the position and I'm afraid to lose it. So the student was thinking like when he was released completely, he can't, he won't be able to attack again. So when you are phrasing and like here, okay, here's my inhale, okay, then I'm singing. So the working on phrasing first, and then it comes like a second nature, like ta 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 ta. But if you don't have this right from the beginning, you need to phrase it. Like take a piece of paper and just like phrase it, like these words. Okay, inhale. These words, inhale. Like with like vowels, for example, vowel tuning and modification. Also, if you are not calibrated automatically, you need to track the modification. Like, okay, this vowel I will modify into this, like right from the
Yeah.
beginning, and then you will do it automatically. Like,
Well, you're right about that, Alex. And all of this happens. Sort of an interesting thing is it all, where the technique that we've been talking about today and the art meet in a training studio. They meet in the lyrics. It's in the lyrics. The lyrics is the venue
yeah,
where you see the technique in the sense of onsets and vowels, and you see the art in the sense of phrasing and interpretation of the story and the poetry involved.
emotion, yeah,
Both equally important. This one, interpretation, the poetry, and the feeling, and all that sort of the obvious one that people are aware of. This one, not so aware of. But what I do with my students is once they get trained up and start building some motor skills, we get into songs, and then I coach the songs with the singers with using the lyrics
great,
as sort of the whiteboard.
yeah,
And we have this technique that we teach our teachers called mapping the lyrics. So a lyric is mapped for vowel modifications, singing articulations as opposed to speaking articulations,
yeah,
onsets. For example, if you might go through a certain verse or a chorus that somebody's having an issue with and circle all of the plosives.
yeah,
So you got
exactly,
B's, and B's here.
yeah.
Make sure, just reminding you, just make sure you get a good pop off that plosive like you learned in the program. And interpretation issues. So when I work on the lyrics with students, I make the technical issues red. So when they go back and they look at the lyric, anything that's red is sort of a technical issue. It's a vowel issue, an onset issue, something like that. And the blues are the interpretation, the artistic stuff. We have a lyric, love, hate, war, peace. These are important, powerful lyrics. They need to be interpreted properly. They would get a blue, for example.
Cool, awesome.
Lyrics. And a good voice coach should learn how to map lyrics.
Exactly.
And it's not just the art and the poetry. It should be taking a look at the onsets and the vowels and the phonetics inside.
Especially before tracking at the studio, you are learn, and then you are going like 3-4 takes, because that's the common stuff. When you are at the studio, you are trying to be perfectly, perfect with the technique, and you are singing like first take, second, third, and then 10th, and every single time the technique is better, but there is no emotion at all. And I know these guys, it's like, okay, I spent like 3 hours at the studio, last two were just perfect, and the next day, like listening to the tracks, like it's like a robot. It's perfect, but it's not a song. It's like vocalizing the exercise or something like that. There is no music at all. It's not no emotion. So yeah, so it's important to do this before you're going to the studio, and then you can save your tracks and your takes.
We use a web-based application here with my students. I use Evernote, which enables me to create a note with lyrics in it and all the lyric mapping notations and comments and shorthand. It's cool because it's cloud-based, so a student can take the lyrics that we worked on in the studio and put it on their phone and take the phone to the studio with them, and they're the lyrics with all the markings on it. So in the information age, it's really helpful to take advantage of cloud-based, internet-based systems.
Cool.
That helps a lot with that particular
for
issue
sure.
that you're referring to.
And also another thing is about let's say pacing or management of your voice working. I heard from, I guess that was Placido Domingo or someone from classical training guy. He's like 70 or something, and the question was like, how you are saving your voice to these days, and you are like perfectly, sounding now. And he said, comparing myself to other, I was like learning songs and stuff like that, not being in full mode of phonation. So I was learning, like, for example, you can, let's say, like run to the hills. You can say like run to the hill, like this. But he was learning like run to the hill. It's like mezzo-voce head voice, and it's kind of saving. But you can learn for 4 or 5 hours just creating the pitch, intonation, the vibrato, without like
without full out performance recording note. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we have a word for that, Alex. When we do that, it's called marking.
Exactly.
You're marking your song, and you go through sort of a light level, and yeah, you can, if you've done good lyric mapping, and then you can rehearse it in a light mass so you don't get tired.
Yeah.
Marking.
And it's like, again, like a runner. So if, for example, and even it's up to me, because, like, for example, if I have 11 lessons today and I know I have 5 or 6 tomorrow, so I know I can like kind of mapping. Like if I'm working with a female belter, I can but I need to say we need to have same language. If that's old student of mine and he knows what I'm like talking about, if I'm saying like you need to crack here, you need to release here, you need to put some like open vowel here, so I can like mark and they can like belt, for example. So it's like day of hard working, then kind of rest mode. Again, hard work and rest, and it's kind of save the money. Let's say like this. Especially for the vocal coach, if you have like day after day after day after day after day, and then workshops and the clinics and something like that. So it's a good idea to mark also sometimes.
Yeah, you mean as a coach?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't as a coach, to be honest with you. I think the techniques that I'm working with every day as a coach, I don't get tired. It's an honest statement. My voice never gets fatigued and tired, even after screaming into this thing for 10 hours on Fridays.
But what about enough sleep? for example, if I don't have enough sleep and I have like students from all over the world, and sometimes I need to have a lesson in 2 a.m. my time, and the next day at 7 a.m. early in the morning. So I'm sacrificing with like time sleep or something like that. So it's kind of difficult sometimes, even with proper technique. It's like I want to sleep, you know. Like I'm teaching, and it's like, whew, like
time out. Why are you teaching at 2 a.m.? That's not healthy.
I'm super excited about this, and I'm like, you know,
Okay.
I just can't not to do this. It's me. I need to teach. If I have the day without a lessons, it's like something's wrong. I'm not motivated, and it's like, oh, come on, give me the student, please. I will pay for the student, and I will teach them like this.
Cool. Hey, look, I think I need to run.
Yeah, sure, man. It was really nice to meet you, brother. Great info. Thanks for sharing, and soon I will post this interview. So thanks again, man.
That sounds great, Alex. It was really great to meet you too. I've been watching you on the side for a while, and I thought I like his energy. I like, you know.
Man, thanks a lot.
I can tell you're working hard. I can tell you're talented. I know it when I see it. I've trained other voice coaches in our teacher training program, and I know it when I see it, and I see it in you.
Thanks a lot, man.
That you're real and you feel it, like you just said. I sort of knew that about you before you even mentioned it. Anyways, it's great. I don't know if you realize this or not, but Margarita and I are talking about doing something together in Kiev in October.
Yeah, she said about this.
Okay. Well, be cool to of course meet you there. Maybe we can do some teaching together, training together, or
man, for sure. Yeah.
Or something. Should be gobs of fun.
Yeah, awesome. And also I have some workshop this year around the Europe and US, and I think I can visit some Seattle and just drink some herbal tea with you, brother.
No, dude, come to Seattle, drink some herbal tea, and we can have a micro beer as well, and let's train. Let's train.
Sure,
I'll fire up my inflection filter, we can do some training, you know, work together, coach each other, have fun with that.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. Oh, I do that all the time. By the way, the one guy that doesn't get a coach is the coach. You ever notice that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anytime I get a chance to like have a real coach, a talented coach in my studio, I'm like, all right, great. You know, here's an idea I'm working on. Here's something. You know, trading ideas is really super important.
Yeah,
it's part of being great,
for sure,
being open-minded. And then we can do, I mean, I've got the most gorgeous mics here, and we can just do like a really cool recording of you stepping up and laying down, running or something.
For sure, bro. Awesome.
Yeah. Come to Seattle.
For sure, man. Okay, so have a nice day, brother. God bless you. It was super nice to meet you. See ya.
You too, brother. See you on the wire.
Bye.
Bye.